Hi everyone, Michelle here, and welcome to the Daily M podcast. Gratitude unlocks the fullness of life. It turns what we have into enough and more. It turns denial into acceptance, chaos to order, and confusion to clarity. It can turn a meal into a feast, a house into a home, a stranger into a friend. Gratitude makes sense of our past, brings peace for today, and creates a vision for tomorrow. By Melody Beattie. For the last 15 years on Thanksgiving, I've read this quote in class. I started in class reading it and have it available in cutout strips for members to take home, read, and share. Each year it becomes more popular, so expect it again this Thursday when I teach the 10 a.m. Thanksgiving class. I believe it's become more meaningful as the world becomes even more stressful. I also believe that in a more subtle way it offers an enlightening perspective that becomes ever more relevant despite the surface soil we sit in now. It also highlights one thing I'm most proud of and grateful for about BYSJ, diversity. This may not be obvious when you first start to practice because your mind and body are absorbed in studying and just surviving the grueling class. But as you adapt and adjust, your attention landscape expands to what's around you. Light skin, dark skin, clear skin, tattooed skin, big muscles, saggy muscles, no hair, full body hair, tall, short, coordinated, uncoordinated, scarred body, a rash body, or a smooth body. And none of it matters. It just is. What does matter are your attempts to do the posture in the company of others trying to do the same. As a result, day after day, you'll say hi, carry on a conversation, and maybe even become friends with the person next to you that practices at the same time as you do and struggles with the same poses you do. Equally, but yet not as evident, are the details you may not be able to see about each other, like who voted for Trump, who voted for Clinton, who watches porn, who is Muslim, who is homophobic, who was released from prison yesterday, who is coping with bipolar disorder, who are full-time caregivers, who just laid off their entire staff, who needs food stamps, to maybe who believes in white supremacy. Good, bad, it's just a fact. What matters most are your efforts to do the posture in the company of others trying to do the same. Since I started teaching 16 years ago, I've always been amazed at how doing postures in a small, tight, hot room can bring together every walk of life like nothing else I've ever seen. Somehow within that environment, each of us figures out how to get along to the point that we become friends with someone we would have never met otherwise. Because I'm the owner and you have all trusted in me so dearly, I get to know you in more detail than you'd often otherwise share. I believe that it's trust that enables you to let go of judgment and empowers you to see and act beyond your normal parameters. I believe, too, in the strangest way, and remember, God has a sense of humor, that doing this yoga and all the distinctness it carries portals you to a higher existence, bar none. I've had the opportunity to travel more this year, and I've been astonished to see and experience for myself what's not out there. At times it's made me cry. I love BYSJ so much in the community we share, but there is no reason why every community can't have what we have. I've always appreciated all of you, but my Thanksgiving this year singles out each of you so much more with gratitude now that I've been out there. When I was visiting in Michigan, one teacher talked in class about how it's diversity, not division. While he meant it kindly, I was like, well, duh, division? We just don't operate that way at BYSJ. So how do we operate? I often think of our community as a ministry. I once heard this amazing definition of ministry as bringing together people, meeting them where they are at, and providing space for them to move one step closer to God. You can change out the word God for anything you believe in. Thus my point, diversity, not division. I'm not offended. In fact, this place helps you realize more of your authentic self in the most integral way. Members, as you know, whatever isn't working will reveal itself and eventually heat up and sweat right off you. This empowers you to take a stand, or at the least gives you more confidence in what you do believe in. The key is in how you do it. I find it awesome and ironic that in a world where we are trying to tolerate what we cannot tolerate, we are also not tolerating what we used to tolerate. The resulting pillars of strength are ones you members work on every day: willpower, concentration, patience, acceptance, and faith. To yield and be strong. To be strong and yet yielding. Being defensive won't work. Being apathetic won't work. But being compassionate and empathetic will. It wins every time. Whether you know it or not, you reflect a conscious application of compassion and empathy every time you practice your postures. Those whose lives circle around you pick up on how you operate and illuminate in this way. And as your practice grows and yoga sinks in, your illumination is only going to grow more. This chokes much of our global community. The absence of this type of oxygen, the absence of a kind space of difference to coexist. Because all of you in the practice I've had for nearly 20 years, I've upped my authenticity and my voice. I couldn't be more proud to shepherd such a community at BYSJ. With all of us together, we are strong enough to reach other communities that should have this too. Since I was a young girl, I've had such an affinity for trees. We take the family station wagon up from Albany, New York to Lockport, New York, and I couldn't wait for those 6 hours of driving to watch all the trees out my window. Then when I moved to the West Coast, particularly here in California, I was shocked. Palm trees mixed with pine trees, mixed with redwood trees, and literally those next to those were olive trees. From my experience growing up, palm trees were only in Hawaii, pine trees were in the snow, redwoods were in historical parks, and olive trees were in Italy. Wow, we have them all in our backyard. I often wondered how trees with such different needs get along. Different soil, more or less sun, more or less water, and yet they figured out a way to live and rise together. Pretty cool. There's a super cool and spot-on commercial produced in the UK by Heineken. See the link below that I encourage everyone to see. It's so moving and intensely personal. Please watch. I'm enormously grateful to you, BYSJ. Unbeknownst to me, I had no idea what kind of beacon of light we'd be. It's bigger than the yoga itself. Then again, we all know that the yoga is bigger than the poses themselves. It's challenging to put what we are and what we aren't into words. I want to be careful because words are limiting and often say no when we are a studio that says yes. But one word for sure stands out: gratitude.